Unite has just revealed the result of its ballot. 81% of cabin crew decided they want to take industrial action. Our correspondent down there, Paul Harrison, it's down from the 90% figure when they balloted back in December, of course. Sorry, Paul's not there at the moment. It is down from the 90% figure when they balloted back in December. That ballot was deemed illegal by the High Court. Let's talk to Jamie Bowden. He's a former British Airways manager. Jamie, there are two sides in this dispute. They don't like each other, do they?
No, it seems to be pretty acrimonious at the moment, but I was intrigued to listen to some of the comments that Mr McCluskey made, I think particularly with reference to British Airways' so-called threat of strikebreaker volunteers. Mr McCluskey himself, just 2 months ago, gave notice of a 12-day strike over Christmas that was going to mess up the travel plans of more than 1 million customers. I think any reasonable company faced with that kind of a threat would want to put together a contingency to look after its customers as much as it could. That's what British Airways have been doing over the past 3 or 4 weeks in training up these volunteers. I also was quite saddened in a way to find out that Mr McCluskey really attacked everybody that he could think of, but he had, once again, precious few words to say about customers, the very people who pay the wages of all of his members and everybody else at British Airways.
Well, in fairness, Jamie, he did say that whenever they do take strike action, if it does come to it, they're not going to strike over the Easter school holiday. So, I mean, he's sympathetic to that.
Well, whether they strike over the Easter school holidays or any time this side of Easter, it is still going to impact on millions of passengers. I think that what's happening with Unite at the moment, the other comment that he made, I think, at the beginning, which was about last Friday's court judgment being a bit of a sideline, I think he called it an irrelevance, will be very interesting to the cabin crew themselves, because over the past month, Unite have been using the issue of crew compliments as central to their case to force that court case. He also said that this should be done through negotiation, not litigation, but it was the union themselves that forced that High Court case itself. So he himself has gone forward to litigation to try and get the result he wanted. He didn't get the result he wanted, and now he's calling it an irrelevance.
Jamie, can I ask you to just put yourself on hold for a couple of minutes while we go to Manchester Airport, have a word with Michelle May, our correspondent up there. What's the passenger reaction then, Michelle?
We spent the afternoon speaking to people here, finding out what they felt about this ballot. And I have to say the overwhelming majority, both business and leisure travellers, telling us that they won't be booking with British Airways in the near future. Now, obviously, passengers are keen to know as soon as possible of any dates for potential strike action. But it's not as simple as that, because many people have been saying to me that British Airways, the brand, has been badly damaged in the last few months, and that they wouldn't be interested in booking with the airline even beyond any potential strike action dates.
People want to travel without any problems, and they're not going to, are they? You know, it's going to be, you're worrying about whether you're able to get back.
I think they do need to get a resolution before people can go back to the brands, because if you're booking medium-term travel plans, as it happens, I'm going to the Middle East and India in the next month, I won't even consider looking at their website when I'm making those travel arrangements.
In a time of recession, I think we feel that for people to take strike action over pay is really quite hard to swallow.
I would definitely go with British Airways again anyway.
Why?
Because I think it's the best one I've ever used.
Michelle, many thanks for now. Let's go back to Jamie Bowden, former BA manager. During your time there, Jamie, I mean, was there a real us and them attitude between management and unions?
No, I mean, there was a big cabin crew strike in July 1997, and that caused British Airways about £125 million worth of damage. I think the union involved here, BASA, which is the cabin crew union branch, it doesn't really matter which chief executive is in the seat, whether it's Willie Walsh or Rod Eddington or Bob Ayling or Sir Colin Marshall. They've always had a bit of an issue when one of those chief executives wants to make radical change. And what is at the core of this entire issue is that airlines in the next 25 years cannot work and behave the way they have done in the past 25 years. Many of BA's key competitors at the moment didn't even exist 25 years ago. We've seen recently that even good airlines will go bust, and the airlines that won't change, the airlines that won't adapt, will be finished. British Airways has to make sure that in the coming years it is positioned in a way not only that it can stay profitable, that it can run its business at a price that it can afford.
Jamie, thanks for your time. Let's talk to Len McCluskey down there at Unite's headquarters. Your members not happy at all, sir?
No, they're not, and I think the result of the ballot is an indication of that. It is extraordinary that in a turnout of 80%, nearly 81% of our members have voted for strike action. That's against a backdrop where over a number of weeks now they've been subjected to intimidation, to bullying and harassment from the management, from threats about their staff travel being taken away from them, and indeed from British Airways' announcement that they were putting together a strike-breaking crew. So against all of that background of intimidation, it is extraordinary that 81% of our members are still prepared to vote for strike action, and it's a demonstration of that deep sense of grievance that they have, and we can only hope that British Airways will take that on board and try to be more flexible in our negotiations, which we're conducting at the moment, so that we can resolve the issue.
Members are clearly unhappy. I mean, the results just speak volumes. But do they understand that the sums simply don't add up for British Airways and the company has to take radical action?
Oh, of course. I mean, we've done that now for a considerable period of time. Remember, Unite has nearly 30,000 workers within British Airways, and all of our members in the different groups, including the cabin crew, recognise that British Airways are in a difficult situation and we want to make our contribution. And so there's no question that our negotiations have been in any way restricted in that sense. We want to make British Airways competitive. We're prepared to put significant savings on the table. But of course, this dispute has arisen because the company themselves decided to impose.
Yeah, but the image passengers have got is that you're kicking up a heck of a fuss over one thing, for instance, losing, one person on long-haul flights down to 14 instead of 15, and even that you're not happy with.
Well, it's much more complex than that, as I'm sure your viewers will understand. It's certainly not about one individual off an aeroplane. It's about an imposition, and it's about not reaching negotiation. We've said consistently that the company needs to understand that this can only be resolved through negotiation, not litigation, not intimidation, not confrontation, but negotiation. And that's why we've entered into the discussions at the TUC, under the auspices of the TUC, over the past number of weeks to try and see if we can resolve our differences.
Well, what every viewer wants to know, certainly the ones who are going to fly or planning to fly with British Airways, is it worth them buying a ticket anymore?
Well, obviously, there's always this danger that whenever there is disruption within the aviation sector, that people are confused as to whether or not they should proceed, and it undoubtedly damages British Airways revenue. We know that. That's why we're urging the company to try and reach an agreement with it as quickly as possible. The quicker we can reach an agreement, the quicker we can put this confusion behind us, and the quicker we can get back to making British Airways the premier airline within the world aviation.
So just for passengers watching now who possibly were planning to go away with BA over the Easter school holidays, they can safely book a ticket, can they?
Well, we've already made a statement on this. We don't intend to try and hurt families at Easter, and we won't be taking any action over the Easter school holidays. So the first couple of weeks in April,
it seems
there'll be
extraordinary
no
seeing
action.
you were willing to walk out for 12 days over Christmas and New Year, and now you're sympathetic towards Easter.
Well, because we've been engaged in a number of discussions with the company, which have been meaningful. And the reality is that we wanted to make certain that the reaction to our members' decision at Christmas wasn't the same over Easter. We want to take away the emotion of families being stopped to taking their Easter holidays. So that's the position we've taken, and we hope that British Airways will recognise that the only way to deal with this matter now is round the negotiating table, and let's thrash happy with, that they can feel safe for their future, and British Airways can also feel safe that we have producing an airline that is competitive as we go forward.
I'm sure everybody hopes for that resolution. Mr. McCluskey, thanks for your time. More reaction to the fact that BA cabin crew have voted 81% in favour of strike action in that latest industrial action ballot. Also, more on that avalanche in Cumbria. 4 walkers caught up in it, but apparently we think they're all okay. More on those stories and the rest of the news in a couple of minutes' time.